Shri Sai Ram. Today, we will be reading Easwaramma, the chosen mother of Bhagavan Shri Satya Sai Baba, by N. Kasturi. Chapter 7. Urvakanda is a town bigger than Bukapatnam, bigger even than Panukonda. The parents alighted from the bus and headed straight for their eldest son's residence. Inevitably, there was a big crowd milling around. It took quite some time and a great deal of push to get into the inner room, where fumes of incense and flames of camphor greeted them. As soon as the congregation recognized the new arrivals, they cheered them on with the cry, "Mata Pita Ki Jai!" Close on the heels of each full-throated Sai Baba Ki Jai. Satya was seated on a chair with flower garland piling on his right, as he accepted each one that was offered and added it to the growing mound. The bewildered Seshmaraju was perforce being kept busy by the onrush of visitors and persuading earlier ones to leave to make room for the later. He sighed with relief as he saw his parents. "Tell me who these two are," he asked, as he walked up to Satya with them. The answer, when it came, was Vedantic, but it was devastating. Who could expect such startling words from the lips of a 14-year-old? When pressed to identify his parents, Satya said, very concisely, "They are Maya." Maya? Delusion? Each one of us, as Baba revealed in later years, is not one entity, but three. Two of these are unreal, transitory, and trivial. The first is the one we think we are, namely, the body with its component, the heart which, like a muffled drum, is beating our funeral march to the grave. Second, the one others think we are, that is, the bundle of reactions we exhibit through our responses of instinct, impulse, emotion, passion, and imagination. The third is the one we really are, the Atma, imperishable, resplendent, ever blissful. Satya, when referring to his parents as Maya, had thus denied as delusion and refused as invalid the first two, temporary, subordinate facets of the persons standing before him. The scene reminds us of the one described by Matthew in the New Testament. While he, Jesus, yet talked to the people, behold, his mother, his brethren, stood without, desiring to speak with him. Then one said unto him, "Behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee." But he answered and said unto him that told him, "Who is my mother, and who are my brethren? For whosoever shall do the will of my Father, which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother." "Maya!" exclaimed Easwaramma, and fell in faint. But Venkaparaju grasped the gravity of that remark. He realized that the names Guru and Brahmagnani, earned by Satya in his childhood, were not nicknames, but descriptions of deep insight, indicators of this day of the renunciation of transient family affinities. He tried to educate the mother into an acceptance of an irredeemable situation. But Easwaramma reacted with resentment. She sat by Satya's side, tears coursing down her face, for her son was but a shadow of his former self, though only 3 months had elapsed since she had last seen him. "Satya, speak to your mother," she begged. A few minutes of silence ensued. Then, "Who belongs to whom?" asked Satya, remote and cold. It was not a question. It was a pronouncement, an unveiling, a lightning streak. Satya continued with his lesson. "It is all Maya. It is all Maya." And men stood wondering at this sight, at this thin stripling. Who sat before them like the great Shankaracharya, proclaiming, as authentically as he did, the key that unlocks the mysterious of the cosmos? But Easwaramma was not awed by these profundities. She only yearned to feed her son, to seat him on her lap, to brush his hair, to hear the songs he loved to sing, to see again his Pandari dance. As she remembered the days that had gone by, she burst into sobbing and had to be led away. In an attempt to distract her from her tears, she was shown a block of stone and told its amazing story. When Satya had thrown away his school books and walked out, refusing to stay at home, he had sat on a boulder with this piece of stone lying beside him. A photographer asked him to move it aside as his camera clicked, but Satya refused. When the film was developed, the stone was seen to have become an idol of Shirdi Sai Baba, who Satya said he once was. An excited group showed her the photograph, their eyes glistening with glee, but Easwaramma was unmoved. "When did Satya eat today?" she asked. "Did he eat at all? What food does he like best now?" All that concerned her was the longing to engage in some act of service for him, as release from the tension and the fear that gripped her. Satya, meanwhile, was growing fidgety, impatient to be out in the open, to get back to his favorite seat, that boulder. But when told that his mother, herself, was to the kitchen, readying a meal, he replied, quite surprisingly, that he would wait. Those words were balm to the mother's heart. She began cooking more varieties with added zest. Then at last, Satya rose and walked in. His parents stood by as he sat on a reed mat on the floor, the plate before him. He looked on, drowsy and distant, as his mother placed on the plate her affection and anxiety, her desire, her despair, and delight, sweetened, salted, fried, and boiled into sankati, pulsu, kura, vadiyalu, chitranamu, chutney, and payasam. She finished serving and nervously signaled that her offerings be accepted. With a swift movement, Satya swept all the food into one mass and rolled it into 3 balls. "Maya! Maya!" he kept repeating. Someone told the stupefied mother that Satya was bidding her come near. She moved a few feet forward. He put one of the balls of food in her right palm and kept his palm before her to receive it. As she gave it back, Satya ate, whispering, Maya is gone. Maya has left. The other two balls got the same treatment of inscrutable indifference. The extraordinary supper struck the elders, including Seshamaraju, as the culmination of the process of disassociation from filial and fraternal ties. Satya had finally labeled himself as a stranger, though nearest kin of all. Through part of history, he was a mystery. Though unreachable, he was within reach. The parents of Krishna, too, had to live their days with this near but far dilemma. This was on but off conundrum. When Abhimanyu, the son of Krishna's sister, wed Uttara, the daughter of King Virata, Krishna's parents were received as guests by the king. But Vasudeva, the father, replied, "O king, do not flatter us as the parents of Krishna. For Krishna says, I am not especially concerned with the persons you designate as father and mother. I am only concerned with the bhaktas devoted to me." He says that he suffers when those who belong to him suffer. He says that he is happy when those who are his are happy. He does not worry over wife and children, brother and sister. He is not attached to wealth or power. He is not attached to all who call on him, whether as Hari or Narayana or any other name. My son's behavior is not like that of others. His heart melts when his devotees are injured or insulted. Why? He gives himself to those who insult or injure him. He declares that he lives in order to deliver mankind from grief. These lines from the epic of the Mahabharata, referring to an earlier avatar, shed the light of understanding over the behavior of Satya when his parents yearned for his affection. The night of this memorable day of renunciation was spent on the now famous bhajan boulder, on which Satya sang as he sang Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam, the call to install the feet of the Guru in their hearts. Easwaramma could not leave him out there in the cold. She joined the cluster of devotees who sang bhajans until late at night and again in the early dawn. But all through that night, the mother struggled to reconcile herself to the appalling future of her home. She knew that the son who proclaims, "I do not belong to you. I have not come for your sake. I have my own work to attend to," would soon be traveling on foot towards the hills and caves, holy rivers and shrines, and even to the Himalayas. He would live on alms, or on fruits and roots, or even on dry leaves in the thin air. She peered into Satya's youth and looked beyond his middle age into his later years, and saw him lean, lonely, haggard, and naked. She saw him bearded and bearded, though with the eyes that clearly announced the illumination within. The mother shuddered at the prospect and was determined to pray for a boon from the son at the first opportunity. Her husband refused to share in her anxiety, urging her not to worsen the situation with any hasty move. "Let us leave him alone," he said. "All this shall pass away." But Seshamaraju approved the idea enthusiastically and promised to use his skills of persuasion too. When there were only about a dozen people around Satya on his boulder, Easwaramma and Seshamaraju approached him. "Satya," said his mother, "we are in Maya. We are Maya. but you are free from Maya, and we will not interfere. We will not argue. You can be whatever you are. But Satya, not in the Himalayas, not in the caves and hills, far away from us. Give me your word that you will remain at Puttaparthi. Let your devotees come there. We will welcome them gladly and treat them kindly. Thus was the scene of destiny set for Satya's momentous answer. I have chosen Puttaparthi as my kshetra, he announced. The boon is granted not to you, but to the village, the world itself. I shall leave this place and come there on Thursday. Easwaramma was speechless with delight, her face beaming the good news to all around. Her heart was full, for now she was assured that she could witness her son's glory all her life. He could be saved from collecting alms. He could be well cared for, at least as far as food was concerned, by his mother and sisters and aunts and the adoring Subama too. Her happy thoughts were abruptly interrupted, however, by the impetuosity of a man who suddenly fell full length before her, touching her feet. Swami's mother, he gasped, bless me. This tall, fair man, a native of Urvakunda, was a Shastri, that is, a Brahmin, a Pandit. Once, when he had been expounding with the ancient Sanskrit text of the Ramayana, Satya had heard him. Though he was far beyond earshot, Satya sent a messenger to him with the correct interpretation. The Pandit was naturally resentful at first, but he soon surrendered. Now he stood exclaiming, Sarvajnana Murti, the all-knowing one, in an ecstasy of awe and admiration. Satya's recognition of the insufficiency of this Pandit brings to my mind the advice Jesus gave to the teacher, Zacchaeus, as mentioned in the Gospel of Thomas. But Jesus looketh upon Zacchaeus, and saith unto him, Thou knowest not the Alpha according to its nature. How canst thou teach others the Beta, thou hypocrite? First, if thou knowest it, teach the Alpha, and then we will believe thee concerning the Beta. Easwaramma was embarrassed at his homage to her, this precursor of the role with which the world would soon clothe her. For deep in her heart was the feeling that she, as mother or even as Easwaramma, was but Maya, a mere idea and image superimposed on something behind and beyond both. Like sage Kapila, who chose his mother, Devahuti, as his first disciple, Satya had opened the inner eye of Easwaramma with that one word, Maya, the word that can unveil the truth of truths. The news spread with lightning speed that Satya was to go to Puttaparthi and would perhaps not return. The town was on wildfire. Men of all sorts, traders, artisans, and laborers, teachers and students, and women and children rushed to the boulder-strewn garden of Anjaneyalu, where Satya sat teaching more bhajans to the people. To his teachers seated in front, he gave vibhuti, emanating instantly from his hand. One of the women there, who had the good fortune of being at Shirdi with Sai Baba himself, told them that this Uddi Vibhuti was ash collected from the fireplace at the Shirdi Dwarakamai. Now, she said, he has fire in his palm, and indeed the Vibhuti was a bit warm. Oh, the entire town was on the road, moving in a procession, deliberately slow. Satya sat on a decorated cart, drawn by caparisoned bullocks. Seshamaraju and the youngest brother, Janakiram, went immediately in front. Easwaramma, her daughters, and daughter-in-law were among the hundreds of women in that throng. An enthusiastic devotee placed garlands on both the mother and father. They struggled out of them and rid themselves of the adulation inflicted. Seshamaraju's brother-in-law, Ramaraju, along with his friend Subbanna, organized a band of volunteers to trim the lines and keep them straight on track. A band of drums, bagpipes, clarinets, and jingles played at the head of that long moving mass of devotion. When the limits of the town were reached, people were gently asked to turn back, but few had the heart to return to dreariness without their dear Satya. Many had resolved to accompany him and be at Puttaparthi for at least a week. Easwaramma was bringing Sai Baba to Puttaparthi. He was no longer Satya Narayana Raju, a student of the high school at Uravakonda. He had stepped out of the swaddling clothes and stood forward as the teacher of truth. The people around him were his pupils.